everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Colavita Olive Oil Jessie Sheehan Olive Oil Baking Series. Today we are using, of course, my fave, Colavita, and I am making a chocolate pear upside down cake. We're going to make it in a skillet. It's going to be caramelized and yummy on top, chocolatey on the bottom, a little fruity from the pears. I think you are going to love it. Let's go. Okay. I'm going to put this little oil right here so you can see it. The first thing I've done, everyone, is I've melted a 1/4 cup of butter into a 10-inch cast iron skillet. You could also do this in a 10-inch cake pan and stick it into the oven to melt it, but I like doing it in a skillet. It's kind of an all-in-one kind of thing. I'm going to add 1/3 cup of light brown sugar and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I'm just going to turn this up a teeny bit, and basically I'm melting this sugar in the butter because I want to make this kind of caramelly layer. This is going to become the top of the cake, which is really cool because we're going to flip it out. So the top of the cake is going to have this pear caramelly layer, which I think will be really yummy. I love the size of this cake for right now because it's not a super big cake, and I feel like it's a good amount if you're having kind of small-ish celebrations for the holidays or just because you're in the mood for something yummy. And if you are not crazy about pears, you could make this an apple upside down cake. You could make this a berry upside down cake. You can play around with the fruit that you put on the top of this cake. It's really flexible that way, if you know what I mean. So this is gonna take a couple of minutes to melt the brown sugar because I don't wanna put it on a too high a heat because I don't wanna cook it too quickly. So I'm going to let this melt and I will be back in a second. All right, everyone. So the kind of caramelized butter and brown sugar has melted. I have some very thinly sliced pears here, and I am going to start to make, hopefully, an extremely pretty design in the center of my cake. And I might have to move it over a little. Basically, what we're trying to do is overlap the pears slightly. Oopsie. Pears. Pear emergency. We're trying to overlap the pears slightly, like in this kind of almost fan-like way. That kind of needs an overlap there. And this is going to be kind of the center. And then I'm going to go out to the edges. And I'm just trying to make as pretty a design as I can. And you can see that the pear got a little bit brown since I sliced it, but that's really fine because when it is baked, you are never going to be able to see that it started out brown, particularly because it's going to become caramelized. So I kind of go all the way around the edges. That one broke a little bit. And I'm just kind of placing the pears in this fanned out shape. I like to slice them, which I might have already said. I like to slice them super, super, super thin because I do want to be able to do this technique where I'm overlapping them. And if they're too thick, I think that they won't kind of bake as well. And it will be a little wonky. So I'm trying to grab all the super thin pears and go all the way around the edges. I think that looks super pretty. And also don't worry exactly like what it's gonna look like when it's done because as it bakes, you know, the pears will melt into the caramel a bit and there you have it. So I went all the way around. I might put maybe one in the middle. Kind of pretty like that. Now this was about 2 pears. So I would say anywhere between 2 and 3 pears is going to be perfect for you. And it basically just depends on how thinly you slice them. I've made this cake before and I've sliced them a little bit thicker. And even though it's totally delicious, I find that the thinner pears are just kind of a little bit more delicate and a little bit prettier when you're kind of looking for that. These together in the center and maybe this little piece in the middle. Okay, we can see that I'm not exactly an artist, but that's okay. Doesn't mean I'm not good at putting pears into a pan, because I think I can handle it. I hope you guys can too. I'm just gonna slide one right in there. And there we have it. So this is gonna sit while we make our cake. All right, everyone, now we're gonna make the cake, the chocolate cake that I'm gonna be pouring over those pears. It's gonna be super, super yummy. In my bowl, I have 5 tablespoons of Dutch processed cocoa powder. I've got a cup of all-purpose flour. I have some baking powder, some baking soda, and some kosher salt, and I have a cup of brown sugar. And I love to use brown sugar in this recipe because brown sugar is lovely with chocolate. Brown sugar has some molasses-y kind of vibes, and is super moist, and I think both of those qualities of brown sugar make it particularly delicious with chocolate cake. And it's funny, if you were making this cake and it wasn't chocolate, you would probably substitute, I put in 5 tablespoons of all-purpose of cocoa powder. You could probably sub in 5 tablespoons of all-purpose flour, and you would have a pear cake that was not chocolate. Although I really think you should make a chocolate one because I love chocolate. All right, my brown sugar is a little lumpy. Do you see these lumps, peeps? I don't love lumps, so I'm gonna kind of break them up with my whisk. And I might even break them up with my fingers if I wasn't making a video right now, but I'm not gonna do that. Alrighty, I'm gonna put my dry ingredients aside. I'm going to take a measuring cup. In my measuring cup, dun, da, 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 I have 1/2 cup of whole milk. I am going to add 1/4 cup of dun, da, 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 Colavita. 1/4 cup of Colavita. And like I always say when I'm baking with olive oil, if you want a strong olive oil, you can use a Colavita olive oil that has more of a strong flavor. If you'd like something mild, you can use a mild baking Colavita olive oil. The world is your oyster, peeps. You feel me? Here we have 1 egg, 1 yolk, and 2 teaspoons of vanilla. I'm gonna put all of that into our measuring cup. I'm gonna grab that whisk, and I don't know if you're noticing, but this is a very 1 bowl-ish recipe. Do you feel me? I mean, this is kind of like a bowl, this measuring cup, but not really, because we needed to use it to measure that milk. So we go like this. These are our wet ingredients, or almost all of them. You'll see there's one more surprise ingredient, so get ready. We're now gonna add this to our dry ingredients. Now you could also make this cake if you wanted, and I'm gonna fold this together. You could also make this cake if you wanted in a stand mixer or in a large mixing bowl with a hand mixer. That is totally your prerogative. I personally am always trying to figure out how I can avoid using any of my appliances. Like if I can avoid my stand mixer, or if I can avoid my food processor, I'm all about that. All right, you see now we have this kind of glossy, chocolatey batter that came together. How pretty is that, peeps? Yay! Now, secret ingredient, peeps. Here we go. This is a 1/2 cup of boiling water and 1 teaspoon of espresso powder. And the reason we add espresso powder to our chocolate cake is because coffee flavors bring out chocolate flavors. This cake is not going to taste anything like chocolate, so I don't want you to be worried. This cake is this cake is not going to taste anything like coffee. It's going to taste uber chocolatey, and that's why we add that espresso powder. People get nervous about that. They think like, oh gosh, I don't want like a mocha flavor. I don't want this to taste like coffee. It's not going to taste like coffee. It's just going to taste like chocolate. Yay, oops, I just splattered. And you can see the batter is kind of thin, which is great. It's exactly what we want. And you can see any lumpiness that I had with my sugar or with my cocoa powder kind of dissolves now that we have this very wet and delicious batter. So here is a really exciting moment. I'm gonna grab my pears, my gorgeous pears. Okay, that's what I think. Gorgeous. All right, watch this, peeps. Now I'm going to pour my chocolate cake over my pears. And I like to get every last drop of batter. All in there. A little bit more, a little bit more. Are you guys into last drops of batter? I am. I'm gonna put that right there. Look how pretty this looks. I am going to stick this into a 350-degree oven for like 25 minutes. It really doesn't cook very long at all. Then I'm going to meet you back here, and we're going to flip the cake and see the pears. All right, peeps, look how beautiful that is. It's out of the oven. I am going to run a paring knife around the edge. And this has been out of the oven for about 5 minutes, and that's about what you want before you flip it. I'm going to put a piece of parchment on top and then a plate. You don't need to do that. You can just do a plate. But I wanted to do that because I just think it'll be prettier. Okay, peeps, you ready? Let's go. I flip it over like this. Dun, da, da, da. Look at that beautiful cake. You see all those pretty pears? And you see the little chocolate bits sticking out. I love, love, love the way it looks. I am going to let this rest until it kind of comes to room temp before I slice it up and take a bite. All right, everyone, look at this gorgeous slice of chocolate cake with caramelized pears. I'm going to show you the whole cake so you can see. Look how pretty that looks. And I put a little bit of confectioner sugar on top, which I think is nice as well. And it has this lovely Cola Vita. I'm going to take a little bite because it looks so yum. So yummy. The combination of pear and chocolate is 100% fabulous. And I'm not even someone who loves fruit and chocolate, but this particular combo is fantastic. Thank you so much for joining me today while we made our pear and chocolate upside down cake. You can find this recipe on my website, Jessie Sheehan Bakes, and you can find it on the Colavita website. You can watch the IGTV video in my IG account or in Colavita's account. And I just want to thank you for watching me make this delicious cake. And I will see you again soon. Dun, da, da, da. Colavita.